Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. This is the first week of September episode of Weekly Manga Recap.
Why are we being coy about the date?
I don't know. When did we record this, Chris?
It's September 3rd.
Okay.
Which is different from what it would have been on September 1st.
But there were things that happened, so...
My basement got flooded. Again, it's not a mystery. Like, it's not... I don't want people to be like, did something happen? Like, was there a mischievous, like, foul play involved or something? Like, no. Like, they hit our area, and my basement just got more rain than usual, and it flooded for a bit, and I was like, I gotta focus on this, and I'll talk about My Hero Academia tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah. I believe the way I put it was like, yeah, that's probably something you should put all your focus on. Like, you don't want to we don't want to be recording the show and then every 10 minutes, hang on, let me go check the basement to make sure.
Let me go see if I have to bail out my basement before it ruins something.
I just have to handle everything by myself. I'm like, oh, come on, Chris, what are you doing? Is it just because you don't want to drown?
Just because you have expensive electronics that could be destroyed, or...
I don't know. That could also just be my Floridian showing. It's like, what's a basement and how can it get flooded?
Well, it's the first time I've ever experienced it in my life either. Like, I've gotten rain near my house, but I've never gotten it in the basement. But this is the first time it ever happened. So there's definitely nothing weird going on with the world. This is all just natural.
Yes. I don't know. I guess that there's always something weird going on with the world. But yeah, it is still also natural. So
yeah.
As a result of the rescheduling for the recording that we had to do, we have more manga to talk about today because there was stuff that came out on Thursday and maybe today. I don't know. But since the Wednesday time we were going to record the show, there's been more. So a nice jam-packed episode of Weekly Manga Recap for you guys. We hope you enjoy it. And I guess we will talk about it now.
Yeah, we're going to bring it right now.
Yeah, right now. My
hero now, boom, little kid, boom, cover page.
Look at that tiny Ochako with the big head.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia, number 324. Young woman's declaration.
I wonder if they thought that was her quirk as a child. They're like, oh, she's born with an astronomical head, like she's head girl. She'll be the best soccer goalie of all time. And then like she grew up and they're like, I guess gravity powers are cool, I guess.
They take her to the playground and they're like, oh my god, your kids have giant head quirks too.
Everyone's kids have giant head quirks. What's up with this?
Have you ever seen a child before?
No. What are they?
My quirk is that I forget what children look like.
It's awful.
So we kind of tie together in this chapter Uraraka's big motivations for being a hero in terms of, there's the money motivation, but then there's also, I've always thought it was so cool when, people were, happy that a hero would show up, and tying it into what's going on right now in the story. And she narrates first in this little shot of her as a little kid looking not at a hero, but at someone else looking at a hero who is really pumped up and excited. And she says, I've always loved seeing happy people because my parents always were so exhausted because they were trying to make a living for us. And when I saw heroes in action, my gaze went straight to the faces in the crowd. And now we see that the faces in the crowd are in the present looking at Deku, who of course was all beaten up after Uraraka desperately tried to get people to actually look at him beyond just the threat that he presented to them all. And everyone's kind of like, man, he sure is smelly looking. And the animal girl that Deku saved before speaks up on his behalf, saying he saved me and he's been fighting for people this whole time. And I think this is the same guy who was being an asshole in the last chapter. I'm not sure. But One guy in the crowd speaks up and is like, "What? So you want us to look at him? So what? Are you saying we should be covered in filth too?"
Should I stop taking baths? No, sir. You should definitely be taking. Everyone, you know what? People have different schedules depending on how much oil your skin produces. Everyone has different schedules at which they should be showering, but you should still be showering.
Okay,
I'm just gonna poop myself and cover myself in the poop because we can all just be covered with garbage now.
I know that it's a complicated issue, and I'm sure that everyone's got very important feelings on it. And wait a minute, this isn't what I got up here to talk about.
No, now talk about how the beauty industry overdoes it. How much we need showers so they can sell us more products. That is an important topic, but it's not what we're here today to talk about.
That's why I just spray myself an Axe body spray.
Okay, now fuck Deku. We have to, sir. You need help right now.
Deku, just go wait over there and be beat up for a little bit. You can wait. You've been out there for.
This man needs our help. Think of every person who's around him who has to smell a shitty Axe body spray all day long.
If this man smells around people, then no one's going to be able to stand up to All for One. But Uraraka somehow rolls with what this guy says, like, "Are you saying we should be covered in filth?" And she says, "No, heroes are the only ones coated in that filth. Give him a moment's rest to wash away the grime." This is now just like a shower commercial. Like, this is a shampoo commercial. What the hell?
The end of it, Troy Polamalu is going to walk by and hand Deku a bottle of Head and Shoulders and be like, "Love yourself," and then shake his head towards the camera.
Deku will be like, "I don't know who you are."
What? You don't remember the starting strong safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers from like 2001 to like 2007 or something like that?
Was he a hero? Because that's all I know about.
Some would say he was the strongest hero for that defensive period, for that period of time. Then there was James Harrison, but he just hit you. He just injured you intentionally a lot and shit like that.
Hey, oh right, I forgot what an asshole.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Superman and then like a much shittier Batman. They were the Justice League. That's that Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
So the rest of Class 1A are just kind of like watching Uraraka handle all of this, and are just generally like impressed with, I don't know, her ability to make impromptu speeches linking bathing to protecting heroes. But Ida says to Deku, right now she's fighting for you, yes, but also for everyone else. Fighting for our right to smile again. Oh, isn't that nice? But we get a little bit more of Uraraka's mentality, saying, she's always just loved seeing happy people. And she says aloud, "If you want me to stand up here and reassure you, well, tough titties, I can't do that."
Wait a minute. She doesn't say tough titties.
Well,
for a moment,
says, "I'm sorry, I can't do that right now." But...
Oh, I was gonna say for a moment, I was like, did I miss Uraraka getting real?
You're just like, just shut the fuck up. Also, you take a bath.
Hey, stinky bitch down there, take a bath. It just becomes Triumph the insult comic dog. Hey, you over there. It looks like your mother raised the afterbirth by mistake. Get out of here. Ha ha ha. I kid.
Drops the cigar after 2 lines and just keeps going. Next shot though, has the cigar again. One of these days it'll stay in.
I've always wondered how people, because you only see Triumph from the one angle, and I've always just wanted to watch somebody who's watching an old balding nebbish Jewish man with his hand in a dog puppet just fucking blasting you with insults as another man holds a puppet or an arm that just has a puppet dog hand on it in case he needs that for a visual aid.
Anyway, but Uraraka says, "Listen, all of us are terrified right now. We're all neighbors here, including him." Essentially saying, like, he's not an outsider. We're all actually in the same situation, and you're rejecting him, even though he's been trying to help you guys out. And she thinks to herself while she is saying this that, seeing Deku in action, always desperate to save people, has given me a lot to think about. When a hero is hurting, when heroes are hurting, who is going to be the one to protect him? And she doesn't say this straight up, but she says, like, we have to be the ones to protect those heroes. The people that they protect have to in turn protect them. And we see a little bit more of her little kid flashback where her parents are like, hey, yeah, the superheroes over there. Why are you looking at them? But she's just like really happy to see these, smiling people. But then she does look over at the hero who saved the day, who is wearing something. I don't know how to describe it, but it consists of a lot of bands and an odd mask. What I do love about this is that how little Uraraka gets really, really excited. She looks very Anya-ish in this moment.
Now, did you hear the sad news, though?
What is that?
That someone pointed out that the hero you see there is on the list of heroes that got killed by Shigaraki.
Yeah.
Or that got killed, I guess, during the attack. I don't know if he specifically was killed by Shigaraki or not.
Little kid Uraraka wasn't there to cheer him on. So. There you go.
That was his last words. He's like, I just wish that one kid I saw one day was here. Ugh.
And so she encouraged everyone, like, hey, come on, let's spirit bomb this. Everyone lend him your strength. Look, he needs your help. So find in your hearts to let him rest here and recover together with all of us. Izuku Midoriya is trying to take on all the responsibility that comes with his power, but he's got plenty to learn himself. He's just a regular high school kid. And the little dick munch in the crowd starts to object, and Uraraka's like, this place is his Hero Academy. Let him stay here. Oh my god, the title drop. Kind of.
Almost.
And as she shouts into her megaphone to encourage everyone to let Deku get his HP up, Deku remembers all the way back when they first met, and he nearly tripped and fell on his face, and she was there to make sure he didn't. She was there to pick him back up, and now he falls to his knees as he remembers that. And he thinks to himself, as Uraraka is saying this, the big series words, this is the story of how I became the greatest hero, and also the story of how we all became the greatest heroes. As all the people in the crowd who were thinking about helping Deku but were kind of hesitating start to rush forward to help him out, and the two people that reach him are the animal lady girl and Koda, who has broken away from Ragdoll to go and help out his hero. And big emotional moment to end off the chapter, as we just get a lot of these different reminders of like the way that Deku has connected with several different characters over the course of the series.
What'd you think of it, Nick?
Better than the last chapter in terms of making it feel like a big deal that Uraraka was making this big step. I do love a lot of the visuals that we get. Deku, falling to his knees in gratitude for his friend, knowing the right things to say in this situation. And also I do like the visual of, Koda being the one to reach out to Deku. It is a little bit weird that the large animal lady is the second one there. It's like, I mean, it's nice, but I don't know your name, ma'am. You're such an
oh no, you got it. Large animal lady.
Okay, large animal lady. So, I don't know why that one guy is such a dick.
They had to make a bad guy, and it just happened to be that dude. Just like, hey, fuck that kid.
It's got to be deliberate that he's wearing an All Might shirt, right?
Probably, yeah. It might be some kind of statement by Horikoshi in that way. Just like sometimes the biggest fans of your work are the biggest dickheads who don't understand you. Bruh should be running still, god damn it. Like that's what he said. He pounded on the table.
Check out that podcast that we made an appearance on when it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this chapter was all right. I still haven't been able to get into it. I don't know what it is that's giving me a hang up. I'm just not, for whatever reason, able to get invested in Uraraka's speech. So while I appreciate that she got a big moment, and I won't criticize her for not having a big moment now since the Fighting Festival arc, or well, not Fighting Festival arc, it was Fairy Tail, the Sports Festival arc. It's still like it for me. I'm still waiting for something else. I shouldn't say waiting, hoping for something else. I don't know if I'm going to get it for Uraraka. Maybe something with Toga down the line, but right now I'm still just like, eh.
Should mention that so this is the thing about some of My Hero Academia. So Horikoshi kind of has this habit of like including a lot of details in spreads, and I don't mean in terms of like 2-page spreads or full-page spreads or anything like that, but in terms of a lot of different panels that you're kind of getting all at once that you sort of aren't supposed to necessarily absorb in a particular reading order the way that you do with, a lot of sequential art, manga and comics, but just like almost like a kind of collages of things happen. And that can be good for like, okay, we see the reactions that a lot of people have, or we see, the way that like the entire class is using their quirks in one moment together kind of thing. But in terms of certain moments where you're supposed to take it in, you kind of have to like try and figure out what you're supposed to take from it if it's not immediately obvious. So there is a point where Uraraka is, like begging people, hey, everyone, lend him your strength so we have a shot smiling together in the future. And a flash of Toga crosses her mind before she keeps on going. And I don't know exactly what we're supposed to think is going through her mind in that moment, especially because she seemed pretty settled on like, this is, why I'm doing this. And then that comes across her mind, and I don't know why. So it might be one of those things where like if you see it in the anime version, it might be a little bit more obvious because the different natures of the two mediums, one has to be more orderly with how its sequence goes.
Yeah.
So I will say that the first time I read through it, I was like, why should I think about Toga? I don't know.
It might play into it, I guess, it's her fear, but
Possibly.
all right.
Doubt.
Let's talk about Undead Unluck, Chapter 76, where I can't find the chapter title.
Reach the speed of light.
Yeah! Oh, it's all the way up there, and it's very tiny.
It's tiny. Yeah.
So we go back to when Andy is preparing everybody for this mission, and he is explaining to Top and Chikara that the most dangerous man in this operation has to be Undecreased Creed. The ammo for his weapons will never decrease. Even with undead abilities like mine, if I get hit with one attack, my regeneration won't be able to keep up, and I'll be left helpless. But you see, Chikara, you can stop his barrage with Unmove, and Top, you have Unstoppable to strike him in the brief window when he's vulnerable. So, yes, your abilities aren't possible of direct attacks, but if you believe in each other and use your abilities to their full potential, you will be the strongest duo around. So we see...
My children, and because he's cupping their heads.
Yes.
Right?
He's like, come here, you little rugrats. So we see that's what happened last time about getting Unmove into a specific blind spot where then Unstoppable can get a shot in. But Creed has a plan for that, and it's a stun grenade because he sees Top sees it, tells Chikara to shut his eyes, but it's too late. He's been blinded. Oh no. And immediately now the bullets are flying because now he's not stopped. So Unstoppable Top is running as fast as he can, and he's like, oh crap, he's not going to run out of bullets at this point. It'll never stop. So all I'm going to do is just drain myself out of stamina. And he says, I've just got to get myself close to the gap. And he looks down and he's like, oh wait, is he using ceiling rubble and dust particles to counteract me and Unmove? Has he just made it seem like he was shooting at me? So he realizes this guy is pretty smart, actually. Goes, kicks a big piece of concrete off. And he sees down there is Creed, who has just been punching Chikara in the eyes over and over again. Which is so brutal. So Creed says, yeah, there we go. Now he can't use Unmove anymore. So Top kicks him. Grabs Chikara, starts moving, but he's like, crap, this isn't going to go. This isn't going to go well. This is what Creed is made of. And Creed just notes, you're the reason you're going to lose, Unstoppable. Unmoved did a good job. He's a changed man from the coward I saw on the boat. But seeing how your role to finish me off, it was your role to stop me, to finish me off, Unstoppable, you're way too lacking in attack power. Up till Unmove activated, you guys had the upper hand. So why did you come challenging me with some pointless team-ups? So basically just continues talking down to Top. Even notes at the end, what's being a fast runner going to do? So Top basically goes over and kind of looks at Chikari gets shot through the leg at one point. And he's like, oh man, he's blinded you. He's kept he's made it dead in the water at this point is the way he phrased it. Next up is you, Unstoppable. So Chikari's like, hey Top, I'm going to be fine. And he said himself, right, if we trust one another and bring out the best of our abilities, that we'd be the strongest duo around. And Top runs away. So Creed is staying there, and he just says, all right, well, running away on your own was a damn fine decision. Color me impressed.
I can respect that.
Good move. Clever girl. And he explains here, too. He's like, so I can't actually kill you. Actually, he may have explained that earlier. He must have explained that earlier. He basically explains he can't actually kill either of these two because Billy needs their abilities, and presumably his ability to copy is linked to these characters still being alive. But he's basically completely immobilized them at this point. And they're done for. You've entrusted your life to, you're done for. But Chikara kind of notes, like, entrusting your life to someone else must terrify you, I know how strong fighting while believing in someone else makes you. Mr. Andy and Mrs. Fuko, they taught me that. And our organization is filled with people who are willing to risk their lives for the things and people they hold dear, which is why Top took off running. It's because he believed in me. You don't have any idea about that, and you're looking down on him, which is why you're going to lose, Creed. And Chikara starts opening his eyes, and he says, don't move, not till the friend I have reaches the speed of light. And we see that Top has run all the way out of the building, and he is pulling on, I believe that's Chikara's head now. What is that? Try to tell if that's something specific of his. Does he have a headband? I don't know what it is. I'm dumb.
He does have, I believe it is the thing that he had around his arm earlier in the chapter.
Okay. Yeah, it does look like it. So he pulls that off, just says, let's do this.
Yeah, there's a little effect by his arm, so you can see that he's snapping it off.
Yeah. So we get a cool little moment there from Chikara again.
Yeah. I thought that this was just a very satisfying little short action sequence. Just like, yeah, this kid who was a complete coward when he was first introduced is now opening his bruised shut eyes and standing on his shot legs so that he can use his power so his friend could beat the shit out of Creed. So, but in general, just like the contrast and like I never believe in anyone else versus we have to have faith in each other in order for us to win. Yeah. So it's a very black hat, white hat kind of situation but it's, a great shonen action chapter. So.
I also like how threatening Creed's power makes him seem. Like at first I didn't think it was that crazy of an ability, but then when you see it in context, you're like, oh wow, this guy really can just fire at you with a Gatling gun all day long. Like it will not stop. He does not run out of ammo. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm hoping next chapter is when we're going to get some Top flashback because we saw like a brief hint to his flashback at some point, but we haven't really gotten much of a context for who he is and what he's about at this point.
Yeah, he's still not very fleshed out, along with several members of their organization. But
what are you talking about? Everyone loves this shit in Phil.
Yeah.
He's unbreakable, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's talk about Kaiju number 8, chapter 43. Kaiju number 9 just appeared before Kafka, emerging from the head of one of the ant kaiju. And Kaiju number 9 says, like, wait a minute, I thought I had a reading on Kaiju number 8, but he doesn't seem to be here. And then he looks down at Kafka. Well, maybe you're Kaiju number 8, actually. So, and as soon as he says that, Kafka barely has the time to think, like, wait a minute, he can detect Kaiju, and then he's got a hole in his shoulder because the thing is using its bullet attacks on him. And so Kaiju number 9 is like, well, if you are Kaiju number 8, I guess I better test that out. And he starts attacking Kafka. Narumi gets in contact with the ops room to try and find out how Kafka's Kaiju number 8 transformation is going. It's not going. Even if he's in this dire situation, he still isn't transforming. So people are like, well, we need to come up with a plan because we can't just lose Kaiju number 8 like this. So Narumi says, like, all right, well, it's an identified class threat, so I'll go and take care of the situation. But he barely has time to take even a step forward before another Kaiju number 9 coming out of an ant Kaiju appears before him. And everyone's like, what's going on? Why is there another Kaiju number 9? And Narumi starts throwing out theories in his mind, like, oh, did it split? Did it reproduce? Or maybe there were always 2 Kaiju number 9s. I don't know how that would work, but all right. It does seem as though they are possibly connected in like a hive kind of way, which might explain why all these, ant kaiju are acting abnormally.
Yeah.
So the unit that Kikaru helped out before are like, well, shit, if Narumi is being held down, then we've got to go and deal with the situation. But the kaiju that they took out start to regenerate all of a sudden and stand back up. And they're like, oh my god, this is just like what was in the 3rd Division's report. And if it is the same as what happened then the kaiju are going to get really dangerous now. And all in the operating room, they're like, oh my god, the entire area, look at all this stuff. This is extending well past the 3rd Division's reported range because there's all these blips on their radar about all this kaiju activity. And so they observed that, oh my god, Kaiju number 9 has completely changed the entire tide of battle. And there's this cool full-page spread of Kaiju number 9 surrounded by its various swelly orb ability things. It almost looks like a divine kind of appearance with the circular imagery around it. Kaiju number 9 makes reference to being done sowing my seeds, so it appears as if there is some sort of spore infestation thing going on. And then he says to Kafka that he's going to kill him and take that great kaiju power for myself. So, hey, on top of all his other problems, Kafka's going to be a target for powerful kaiju from now on.
Oh no!
Yay! His life is great.
Yeah, we had to assume this was coming. No, there has to be something special about how his powers in particular work.
Yeah, we did get hints definitely during his fight with the Director General Shinomiya. So, and Kafka is not having a good time. He still can't transform, and bits of his body are getting chunked away by Kaiju number 9's attacks. And he can't even see the attacks coming. And he's like, I need to take this thing down. I have to, but why can't I transform? Why is this happening? And when he looks up, Kaiju number 9's got all these different swollen glands getting ready to take Kafka out. And we get to one of the coolest goddamn things, which is Kaiju number 9 starts saying, goodbye, Kaiju number. And before he can finish, we see Kikaru appearing, jumping up from behind it, swinging her axe, and as Kaiju number 9 finishes its statement saying 8, it gets cut in half, and its word bubble gets cut in half.
It is a very cool visual and an extremely awesome moment.
Unfortunately, Kaiju number 9 just kind of reacts by going, huh? Half of its body falls away. And with the remaining half of its body, just looks at Kikaru and goes, who are you again? Fortunately, Kikaru has a badass line prepared, even for this, which is, you don't need to remember. After all, I'm going to kill you today.
It's a good line. It's a good moment. She came in clutch right there, Kikaru.
So, an okay setup chapter most of the way through, and then Kikaru comes in and makes it amazing all on her own. So... oh no, good chapter.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think this is a fun chapter. I'll be honest, it would have been pretty forgettable, but that moment of Kikaru coming in and slicing 9 in half and cutting the word bubble in the same process is such an awesome moment that it's like, yeah, this is a great moment.
And yeah, it's I guess we'll see how things unfold in this battle. It looks like we're going to get a bunch of, or at least multiple different X-person versus Kaiju number 9 battles, considering that both Narumi and Kikoro and Kafka are facing off against one. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right, we have 2 chapters of World Trigger to get through this week.
World Trigger! And 2 chapters of Consequence?
I mean, there is more covered in this chapter because there's 2 chapters. You couldn't have fit all this stuff in one, definitely. So we find out that the reason that Kodera was reaching out to Suwa is not because of any connection between them, but specifically because there isn't any connection between them. Because one of the rules of the away mission test, by the way, this is chapter 212 away mission test part 10. Guess what? No guesses for what chapter 213 is about. It's titled. But one of the rules is that agents can contact any other agents except for former squad mates. So Kodera can't talk to anyone in his quote unquote former squad, which I believe is also his current squad. Like,
it just means nobody you were squad mates with, basically,
yes.
prior to this.
Yes. So what he wants to ask about is, hey, what were the personal scores for your squad? Did management send them to you? And so it was like, yeah, what do you want to know? I was like, I want to know how many points your people got for the A rank evaluation category. And Sue is like, well, why should I tell you? Meanwhile, Ikoma is cooking.
This is my favorite moment of the chapter. And
moment?
Yeah,
Singular?
And then it happens 3 more times in the chapter, and it's the best.
So Suwa is like, how do I benefit from telling you that? And Kodera's like, I mean, I'll tell you my squad scores. Yeah, but why do I care about this? He's giving her a really hard time about this. So eventually Kodera is like, gets kind of like ashamed of this because Suwa just keeps on bringing us like, are you asking me because like you're not worried about us? You don't think we're a threat because we're in last place? No, I'm sorry. I'll just leave you alone. Suwa's like, I got 22 points and my members each got like about 15 each. And then he omits except for Katori. But he then gives Kodera some advice, which is, look, if you just want information, you should say so, or if you want to make a deal, you should say so. Otherwise, people don't know how to react to that situation. And if you do want to make a deal, then you actually have to give someone incentive for making the deal with you. Bye.
It's so weird that the first part of this chapter is just like, here's how you do negotiations.
Pretty much. Meanwhile, Ikoma is still cooking. Kodera is talking with some of his squad, and they're like, "What are you doing? What are you telling people?" And he's like, "Well, there's something that's bugging me." He calls Kuruma's squad next, and Kuruma's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll share with you." He explains the difference between how they both approach the situation, and Kodera says, like, "Yeah, during the special assignment, I limited the length of our debate to keep it from taking up too much time. But I thought that since we had less time to actually talk things out aloud, that A-rank agents didn't witness as much discussion to evaluate us on. So I was just wondering about that." And so Kuruma's like, okay, my squad got like 13 points about per person. What about you? And he's like, yeah, our average was in the single digits, so we're lower than you guys and a few others, it seems like. So Kuruma says, I mean, there is something to be said for your strategy, though. Like, I mean, you guys are doing well in universal assignments. So, you know, that's nice pragmatic thinking that we've come to expect from you. And Kodera's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Meanwhile, Ikoma is still cooking.
He's making a stir fry or something. I don't know.
I love that it's like, you know, a very like, it's one of the more exciting types of cooking you can be showing someone do, because, you know, flipping the stuff through the air. And Ikoma's just like staring at it the way he always stares at everything.
I just wish he could be wearing his goggles. I really do.
Yeah.
And I
So he
love
gets steamed.
that every time they introduce him again, as though
Yes.
you would have forgotten from page to page.
So we cut back to Kodera's squad again, and he's like sharing the notes that he's taken from all the people he was able to contact about, like, okay, you know, these are the people who got different points, and this versus what we got, and so our, you know, points in the individual assessment category are low. So he's like, okay, but why do you care about this? And Kodera's like, well, the fact that this is such a small fraction of the total points that everyone gets makes it fishy. And it's also the only column in the information they sent to us that's highlighted. So I'm wondering if the evaluation points are calculated using some kind of multiplier as opposed to just being added. And so Kitora is like, you'll think that they could somehow determine final rankings? And Kodera's like, yeah, if not, they're going to barely have any effect on the scores. So it's suspicious, basically. But everyone's like, well, don't feel so bad about it. We did good in the universal science because of your decision and stuff. But Kodera's like, but if we're like doing this wrong, then we're in a lot of trouble if we just keep going forward this way. And we cut to the monitor room then, where we see that Konami is watching this along with. We were introduced to this character recently, and I don't remember their name yet.
I don't remember that name. It's not Konami though. That's
not...
Kaku.
Oh, you're right. No side ponytail. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the people who's in that K squad where everyone has like KA or something or KO in their name. Kaku squad maybe.
Mm-hmm. But so she decides to penalize Kodera because he lets his worry show in his face. But
Kako squad, and that is Kitagawa,
and
who is a horrifying monster. And because we can never see her legs, I can only assume it's a puppet. Like it's a puppet being like controlled by somebody, and that's why her mouth looks like it's a giant flap that opens all the way back. Yeah.
Is Kichikawa, is that what you said?
Kitagawa.
Kitagawa kind of like fires back on this assessment by saying, he's like, well, he's not just worried, he's like making an educated supposition, and he's showing concern for his squad mates. That's all. So they just have a disagreement over, you know, the way that Kodera is going over this. Okudera comes back from the kitchen with food and is like, do you want to like change up our strategy? I mean, I feel like we can trust your intuition on this. And so everyone kind of like gives their reassurances like, hey, you know, we do trust in you, so do you want us to change things up? And basically they say like, Kitora concludes like, we should be more mindful of the A rank evaluation and speak more frequently speak our minds rather. So they say this and then they're like, okay, and let's eat. Meanwhile, Ikoma finished cooking, and in his squad, Obishima and Nirei, I had to look up her name, like it. And it turns out this is an important moment of character growth for Ikoma, because he had a conversation with his friends about how he could be popular with girls. And Jin told him, just learn to cook. And he was like, but how will I ever learn to be in a situation where I can show that off? And now he's thankful to his friend for letting him impress these girls.
It's perfect. It is the perfect reason why Ikoma knows how to cook, is he was told it will impress girls, and now he's just very grateful he got to use it to show off to girls. And that, there's no other reason why we cut to Ikoma 3 times in this chapter to this point, and then once again later on when he's not cooking.
Now, as it turns out, this is because we are doing this because meals are important to all of this. This is the one detail from all of this that did not strike a chord with me at all, because look, I'm not the one who cooks in this apartment. Okay, I'm sure that if I showed this entire story arc to Nicole, Nicole will be all over this part of it. She loves seeing, different approaches to cooking and stuff. Me, I'm like, yeah, but we're just like getting vague details though. Like there's prepared meals in these squads and not in these squads. Everyone did make sure to check the stock, so that's good. These dinners look good and these don't. All right, fine.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This chapter was like at up until this point was something I was like, all right, it's kind of funny we get the Ikoma stuff, but I was like, are we not fucking done with this yet? Have we not glossed enough that fucking everything in this thing is something for the A rankers to pine over and watch, which is still, it hurts my mind to then think about how the A rankers are actually grading this, because there are 12 simultaneous everything's going on and they have to switch between them constantly to evaluate everything. Yeah.
And also, this is not the only detail that I've got a little bit of problem with that gets a lot of focus in these chapters. Because if you were concerned with the laundry, then oh man, they have got this shit covered. It turns out that the weird t-shirts everyone's wearing, it's because they're special try-on clothes that can be washed in this try-on deconstruction and clothing remaker thing. All right, I didn't really need to know that though.
But it helps for the fan fiction where you talk about how the machine doesn't work or only starts shooting out fetish outfits, and then you can write whatever story you want, hero.
All right. Everyone takes showers and we get a little bit of that. We also get, so this is something that is a detail that I do actually appreciate amongst the minutiae, which is that Hughes is being left to deal with being in disguise this whole time. And they're like, yeah, I mean, you can just use your try-on body without horns during the test, but when you go to sleep, you have to be in your actual body in order to rest and regain your try-on. And you're not going to have your horns hidden, so you got to deal with that. And it turns out that he talked about this with Reiji, and so basically just said, I mentioned this to the brass, and they said, he can figure it out himself. So they're just leaving it to you to deal with it. And he deals with it in an amazing way, which is to say, I need to use the one-person room because Canadians can't sleep near other people. And so one person's like, I've seen movies and TV. Canadians are fine sleeping around other people. And he was like, the media does not portray Canadians accurately. But he says, look, I either need the one bedroom for myself, or I could use the capsule bed. I'd be fine with that too. But they do bring up, like, I mean, you can't even like talk to us without your try-on body. So sure, you can be by yourself. That's fine. And everyone's just kind of cool with it. That no one makes a deal out of it. We close this chapter with Sua Squad all going to bed. And they had the same room assignments that they went over before. So Oki is going to go into the canopy bed. Katori is going off by herself. Sua and Osamu are going to be the 2-bedroom. And as the two of them settle down for bed, Sua is like, hey, I got to talk to you about something. And thank God we didn't go into a cliffhanger on this one, because it's not really a cliffhanger-worthy moment.
No.
It brings up a nice exchange between the two of them, because Sua, brings up like, hey, have you checked out the rules for the battle sims? And Osamu's like, yeah, I did, because I was able to take a picture of them after my try-on went out. They're making us face off against each of the other squads, which means we are going to have 10 matches every day, right? And Sua's like, yeah, but the issue I have is actually what the units will be using in battle. Because the rules say that the different unit stats will approximate our stats. Do you see where I'm going from here? And Osamu's like, yeah, you're saying that in terms of our battle resources, that could be a burden. And Sua says, look, I'm not calling you weak. Reiji's been bigging you up all the time when we talk about you. But the thing is, all your inventive ideas that you came up with during the rank wars, the computer battle system's probably not going to be able to replicate that stuff. All the tricks you did with, the force people to step on grasshoppers, the, splitting your your bullets into kind of stuff. That creative use of Trion's probably not going to be in the system. But what I'm saying is, even if you are, quote, a burden to us, I've already taken that into account. So if things go badly, don't get into the dumps about it. I mean, don't just, like, swallow it. You know, keep speaking up. Keep your good ideas coming. That's the way to impress the A-rank guys who are judging us. So Sua's just, you know, being a pretty nice leader here. It's like, look, I know that you've got this inferiority complex thing, which is the entire basis of your character, so I'm going to nip that in the bud right now. Osamu mentions that he's kind of worried about, you know, how Katori's going to react if things go badly, and Sua's like, hey, as long as she's yapping, we're good. And Osamu kind of remembers what Wakamura had said about Katori, which is if she's really pissed off, she won't even talk to you. So if Katori is actually, like, you know, complaining and stuff, she's just being normal, basically.
Yeah.
Sua does also mention that Katori was actually, like, is actually the ace of the team still. And in terms of the universal assignments, she actually had the best scores, which Osamu's kind of shocked by because she looked like she was spacing out during it. Sua does kind of say, like, I mean, me and Ui, the operator, were also busy working out the menu, so we were kind of distracted. But yeah. But he says that Katori is probably going to be key to how their overall score ends up. If she loses her temper, it could be our chance to earn some A-rank eval points. You know. So he goes over all that, and he says, like, hey, you handled the situation earlier today really well. You kept calm, you came up with a solution, and we would have probably worked it out eventually, but it's probably a good thing that you took care of it really early on, because the evaluators probably would not have been impressed by us having to take a lot of time to work it out. So good job. Go to bed. So
yeah, I really appreciated these guys having this moment. The joke kind of has been for World Trigger for a while that World Trigger has been kind of slow, and you know we're spending entire chapters answering an email or, you know, whatever. But this moment, honestly, it felt like a real earnest conversation between the two of them that had a lot of merit to it, and it was a very thankful departure from a bunch of characters talking about how a bunch of other characters are talking about how they're going to be doing things. Like, it's nice to stop dealing with the levels of, like, I wonder if me reading this essay too loudly is going to be judged harshly by the A-rank agents who think I should be using my indoor voice a little lowly or a little lower. And then it cuts them and they're like, that guy's talking a little bit too. Like, I'm so thankful to get, like, a diversion from that and just having, like, an earnest conversation with no meta commentary or anything over it. It's just two people having a conversation and I could be done.
Yeah, it's probably the best character stuff we've gotten possibly all calendar year in World Trigger. So the next day comes, we get a couple of moments as everyone kind of, like, gets ready for the day as they're eating breakfast and stuff. Like, Oki says, like, I freaking love sleeping in the capsule bed. I'm gonna do that every night. So Osamu's got his Tryon back so he can use the laptop and put in his answers and stuff. There's not really a whole lot that's important that happens with Sua. There is a very ominous case in the operator room that's got a mouse and headset in it, which, okay. I don't know why you put that in the briefcase, but okay.
Yeah, sure.
And then we go to Wakamura's squad. Last month, we left them on the note of Wakamura having to make the decision of whether or not they would go with Hughes' idea to everyone split up the work and share answers, with Wakamura saying, I think we should just go about this by having everyone work individually, because although they did not say you can't cheat on this stuff, by leaving it as an option, maybe they're waiting to see how we decide. And in the end, if they say everyone who cheated fails, then there's nothing I can do as your leader. So everyone's like, yep, okay.
Sounds fair.
They are like, yep, we'll keep it above board. I guess it is kind of a risky option, but Wakamura, you can tell just by looking at him, is like, he's still not certain about his decision.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Sua Squad, and they have some new battle sim data that is coming that they can check out. It won't begin until the afternoon, but Sua wants them all to prep in advance. So they download and look over it, and we see that there are standard units and backup units. There are 2 members of each of the battlers in their away team squad, which apparently all 8 of those have to be used. And then there is a backup unit where you can select one of them for each match, and it appears to be a selection of different A-rank agents that they can use.
Basically the number 1 person of each of the 4 classes, I believe. It's Tachikawa, the number 1 attacker, Izuma, the number 1 shooter, the guy who's the number 1 sniper, I don't remember, and then Kazama, who I think is like the 2nd ranked attacker or something like that, but basically like very high level of all of them.
I'm also not sure if that's the bottom of the window that we see. If it's just those 4, if there's more below it. But yeah, we are obviously going to get more information about this probably next month.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to fucking see them talk about simulating matchups for a chapter and a half or 2 chapters, however long it takes.
Wonder if the pace that World Trigger is now at permits Ashihara Sensei to plan more, and
probably I assume he's basically still writing essentially a monthly series or a weekly series at a monthly schedule, sometimes 2 chapters in it, right. But I do assume even with his help that would give him time to at least think, even if he's not drawing,
right, because his ailment is specifically in his physical ability to draw. So but it's just something I'm curious about because of the amount of detail that is in all this that is being included.
A lot of his issues are also very pain related, so it wouldn't shock me if sometimes he's just in too much pain to even be like, I don't even want to fucking think about this goddamn manga right now. All right, Nick, let's talk about Eden Zero, chapter 157, The Red String of Destiny. Big surprise in this chapter, Nick.
This is probably the most positively I felt about Eden Zero in a couple months, Chris.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. So we open up with the space battle, which I don't know why we do, because we don't cut back to it. We then cut over to
I know why, but I'll tell you why later.
Okay. We cut over to the Eden Zero, where Sister and Hermit have gone to the armory and loaded up, basically. They're all decked out with guns and straps and all sorts of stuff. And Couchpo stops them and is like, wait, you girls, where are you going? And they're like, yeah, we're going to go fucking save Witch and kill Shura. Witch specifically using more colorful language, and even that, because she has to be censored.
It's really...
Yeah. Couchpo's like, wait, you're going to leave me all alone on the ship? I'm a non-combatant. Like, that's... that... She uses a stupid food example. Basically, it's like, it's very bad. And Sister says, I don't want to lose any more of the crew. And she thinks back to Valkyrie, and she's like, not ever again. Couchman's like, you don't believe in Shiki and the others? And they stop. She's like, look, I'm not asking you to protect... I'm sorry, I can't read that particular line. Because I'm
not asking you to protect me.
Okay.
I'm asking you to protect the ship. We all want to come home too.
Okay. For some reason, they picked a really bad font for her, and 2 exclamation points confused me. She's basically, don't worry.
I think it's her dramatic voice in this, in this particular panel.
She's also not talking about steak at any point, so I'm just like, are you even Couchbo, or did you get taken over? She basically is like, don't worry, you can trust on Shiki, and that stops Hermit and Sister. So we cut back over.
Remember, Couchbo has been established as like one of the smartest people on the ship.
Yeah, she's one of the smarter ones, and I guess she's also one of the ones who has the most emotional maturities to not immediately be like, I'm just gonna fucking leave everything here behind.
Couchbo could legitimately be an amazing character if Hiro would have just never made that many fat jokes about her.
Very true. We see Pino, who is traveling alongside Shiki and Rebecca. And they're like, oh, and Moscow is there too. And she's like, oh, I heard a faint sound coming up ahead, but I think I'm identifying Witch's signature. So they're like, all right, we gotta hurry. And then they see a bunch of thread, and Shiki, the dumbest human being on the planet.
I want to clarify. I just said the Couchbo is one of the smarter people on the ship. It's not a high compliment, okay?
It's not a high bar to clear because Shiki fucking he wasn't there when Rebecca and them got caught by the mirror.
No.
But I still feel like somebody in this room, like, I know Pino is like master dope, but still, like, when they were in the string, should be like, all right, we definitely shouldn't touch this because this has to be a trap. Like, they're not gonna stop us with just string, right? But yeah, Shiki grabs the string, wraps around his wrist, then reaches over, wraps around Rebecca, and ties them together. And they're like, oh, what's happening? This red string is composed of ether. Its durability is not high; it can be broken with physical force. So the two of them grab their hands together, but then suddenly they feel strange. They're like, oh, my heart is racing. This is so romantic. And Moskoi makes a stupid Moskoi love joke. So they're falling deeply.
He makes a lot of stretches in this chapter with the Moskoi thing. So
I don't even know if they're supposed to be puns. I think he's just a Pokemon sometimes, and he's just like, Moskoi love, and you're just like, oh, it's not. You're just supposed to kind of ignore the Moskoi part. Like it's right. You know, it's just an affectation. They're deeply in romance, and then Happy turns his tail into a sword and cuts the rope because he doesn't want it anymore. But that actually doesn't solve it. That makes the problem so much worse because now that the rope's been cut, they hate each other and they start punching each other, and it gets all violent.
It's actually really brutal.
Yeah, like it's like boom, punch Rebecca in the face, boom, she kicks him in the head. It gets all violent, and we see someone say, "From love to hate, the red string of destiny cultivates love in the heart. When the string breaks, that love changes to loathing. That is the power of my ether gear. Red destiny." And a pair of breasts walks in. I'm sorry, there's a person behind them. It's the secretary or whatever she was. I don't remember her name, and I don't care. She's there, and she says, they won't stop until one of them is dead. And Moskoi says, don't let the fear weigh on you. Just knock out the ether user. That usually breaks the spell. And he goes to try to sumo her, and she just flips him over. And I guess using the red string like that doesn't activate her ether gear, or only it activates if she sets it up as a trap. I don't really know. They don't have great explanations for it sometimes.
I guess it's because it's not connecting him to anyone else.
But the last time it just naturally did. Like, what couldn't have connected Moskoi to Pino.
Yeah.
So I assume she just has a regular attack one and then like the trick. I guess in the same way Laguna can turn people into water if they cry, but he can also just hit you with a big water ball or something like that.
I should note that so this chapter's use of Moskoi actually really bugged me because he has to be portrayed seriously for this situation because like he's the only like proper combatant that, well, I say proper.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he a combatant?
The other one who tries to be a proper combatant.
Has Moskoi been in fights? Did I block those out of my memory?
When he was first introduced, when he was
true.
A guy,
that is true.
So he's the only one who, in this situation, would try to actually fight. So he actually tries to step up, and of course, he gets thrown in his ass. But it's not just weird to see him try and actually fight someone. It's weird to see him sort of act serious at all because you're so conditioned to just expect him to be the most incomprehensibly non-character character. I mean, look, I understand that when you've got a big group, it pays to have a few jobbers thrown in there. It's nice that you've got like Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa and stuff like that.
But every group needs a Sean Spears.
But all those people, like, I understand that they're supposed to be the people that they are in those situations, i.e. a combatant or a stooge, someone who like is a person who has a job to do. But Moskoi is just like the weird, doesn't contribute anything robot sumo wrestler that sticks around with everyone being weird and creepy and occasionally makes a Moskoi pun. So for him to suddenly goes like, I'll stop her, is so weird to me.
You're not wrong. Rebecca and Shiki are fighting each other, and they note the two of them are crying because even though physically they're meant to fight each other, their hearts are crying and tears are falling. And then the two of them turn to water and are sucked into a container as Laguna shows up and reiterates his power that anyone who cries in front of him can be changed to water, and that sometimes that can come in handy. So he hands the container over to Pino and Happy, says, you guys keep them here, then let them out after a while. And he confronts the lady with the gigantic breasts. And
Ijuna.
what is it?
Juna.
Juna?
Ijuna.
Ijuna? Okay. So Laguna's like, I didn't expect to let you to let them go like that. And Juna just says, Laguna Hussert. And Laguna's eyes go open, and he thinks back to somebody. And he thinks back to the princess who said, do you believe in the red string of destiny? And in the present, he's like, princess, is that you? And Juna's like, don't call me that. I abandoned Oasis just like you did. And I can't remember, but I feel like 30 chapters ago, God, it was probably much less than that considering the pace the series runs at, or whenever they introduced this concept, I feel like I said something like, I hope we don't run into that princess later on in this arc, because she's definitely going to show up in the bad guy group somewhere.
Yep. Honestly, though, I do like this. Because, I mean, like, hey, it gives one of the members of the Nero Oceans, that's the name of the group, some actual purpose for being there other than just like, it's a character. And I know that you might say, but Nick, what about Jean's guy that he trained?
I was going to say, it was certainly set up a lot more than fucking Jin running into Caleb and being like, hey, you're a member of the Sky Mech Ninjutsu family just like I was.
And this is why we stopped by with the fleet at the start of the chapter, to remind you that there was a princess in this group.
It is also worth just noting, you said she's the most memorable member of Oceans. She's actually not a member of Oceans, though. I know, she's just short. Like, it does, you're like, it's nice for a member of the villain group to be memorable. Not any member of the villain group we were introduced to. She was just the consort for Shura, basically, who was been brought along.
She's part of the real Oceans.
The real Ocean.
So yeah, I do think that the fact that she is the person who is closest to Shura and seems to be the only person that he has like, I want her around like permanently, as opposed to like, I'll use her for a little bit until I kill her. I think that the fact that she was part of this rebel group but left them, that makes it more important. So I am actually curious to find out what her deal is on some level. But there was some weird stuff, a lot of really dumb stuff in this chapter. But there were a couple of things that were actually kind of nice. So
yeah, I actually legitimately thought it was an extremely awesome moment where the two of them are fighting. They start crying because they don't want to be doing this, but magic is making them do it. They cry, and then Laguna turns them into... It's like a cool way to bring back his ability, which I thought to this point we would never see again. Because it would be like, no, it's too broken, like it's kind of like the way sometimes when JoJo adds a villain into its main cast, that character is suddenly much less intimidating than they were when they were a villain, because it's just like, yeah, you can't set it up the same way every time. Like, I didn't think we'd ever see Laguna to use that ability again. I thought it was really cool that he did.
Yeah. So 3 different things that I liked about this chapter, which is more than I usually say about Eden Zero.
Now let's see if Nick has 3 things he's gonna like about this next chapter. Hunter's Guild.
Red Hood, number 8, hot-blooded debonair.
Does it make you feel any better to know, even if we may not hate this series with a red hot passion per se, Ninja fucking despises this series.
I didn't know that.
Every time in the Discord, he's like, I fucking hate this series. I feel like Chris Sadistic Septembered it for me or used his veto on me. This fucking garbage series that doesn't fulfill any of its executions right.
So, sorry, I'm just going to go through the 3 pages that begin this chapter.
Go for it. Describe it.
As they are written. So last time, it turned out that the giant werewolf and Cinderella and the mayor from Velo's town were all watching the facility as it made its way to Hunter headquarters.
And it's still unclear as to whether or not the mayor was Bremen, and if he's not, then Bremen will return because that motherfucker better get his peanuts.
And so the werewolf says the goal of the Red List, which of course is the evil organization or collective or whatever you want to call it that he and Cinderella belong to. The goal of the Red List is the same as yours. However, do not make assumptions. Horlock! That is a bleach-ass fucking name.
Yeah.
You are not a compatriot of ours.
It is great that he says Heck Horlock, and it is then followed by him, I guess because he made a big motion. Cinderella's like, but it does sound like they were both just clearing their throats. Heck Horlock!
You are not a compatriot of ours. You are a convenient tool we chose to use, that is all. Because you edited the script, adding Dodo and the others, we had to step in and fix the errors you introduced. The more we must adjust the story for coherence, the more the story's characters get yanked about. So the mayor replies, "What's done is done, it can't be changed. Quit complaining about it." To which Cinderella says, "We know it can't be changed, that's why we're furious. Grimm is no dummy, she'll have noticed for sure, and if she reports it to the guild, they might even find out about the Hamlet. You used to be a part of the guild, right? Isn't that, really bad for you? You could have outlined that scene in a dozen different ways. Why push it forward that way? All you did was waste precious page space. Seriously, Mr. Mayor, what are you trying to do with his story?" I know that this is based on fairy tales, so the relation of this to like a storybook is, I guess, on brand. But this is some time paradox ghostwriter ass shit, okay? She's talking about story flaws in the first several chapters of a series that is going downhill quickly.
It's weird that they used all these meta expressions here, and then I was like, well, they did also specifically call out a gun being a Chekhov and then use it somewhat as a Chekhov's gun. So there's some playing with narrative execution, but it's such a weird move because you have to be real fucking confident and baller in using that, because otherwise it just makes you look fucking ridiculous. And the series did not have a great ranking this past week, which could mean nothing, but it could mean a lot worse.
So we cut forward to it's now 10 weeks after the facility has left Borderport. So they are now reaching the end of the 3-month training arc. So Velo is going over stuff with Tilty, and Bonkers comes in and just bursts into their room and starts moving luggage around. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Yeah, well, we're roomies starting today. Hope you don't mind." And Tilty's like, "What are you talking about?" And another person comes in and says, "Well, 4 candidates are assigned to each room. Each of us had our 3 roommates drop out. Conveniently, your room had 2 open spots. We were to move in with you to conserve space." For what? They're not making any stops before they get to headquarters, so why do they need to make room for?
I don't know. Oh, well, you know what? Now that you say it, that is a big problem. They had room for everybody at the start, and now that less people are involved, why would you need to condense if only to make things more uncomfortable for the passengers? I guess that's what they're going for, but now that you say that is a weird thing. That they shove the maximum capacity into rooms. Maybe they have to remodel the other rooms afterwards. That's one of their training fucking things. Hey, paint this room and make it a kitchen or some shit.
Look, if we don't put you guys forward a room, then eventually one of you's going to be like, "Well, now I can masturbate," and then we're going to have to clean up more after you.
It'd be great if they were just like, look, I need you fuckers to interact with each other. You're all weird loners, so I'm just shoving you all into a room.
All you assholes with your dramatic origin stories where everyone in your village died, meet other people.
Fucking mingle. That's the point of this thing is just to get some people to date. It's actually just a mixer.
It's just a chipper. Oh boy, I get to play around with the room assignment.
She just grabs little like Legos of these characters and pushing them together like, I want Bremen and Big Joe to kiss. Then Bremen leaves and she's like, God damn it. All right, you two kiss.
We are introduced to another participant in the camp, Mariopios. Can you imagine, like, asking a stranger about this series and being like, yeah, so there's this person named Mariopios, and they have a weird thing about them. Guess what their weird thing is? Person would never be able to guess this. They have a phobia of leftover food.
It's one of those things that is clearly, like, meant to be a joke, but plays off in a way where you're like, oh, like, I don't really want to laugh at these kind of jokes because they inevitably come at the cost of making anybody who has real issues sound like having that. But then also you're like, I'm sorry, this guy has a fear of leftovers, as we'll find out, is very anxious and doesn't like to sleep near the ceiling and everything like that. And I think there's something else he reveals later on. How did he make it this far in the exam? Like, if he is deathly afraid of leftovers, how has he made it this long?
I don't know. When they're serving people 2,000 calorie meals, like, there's going to be people who, like, Velo couldn't, scarf it all down. And then he would just run screaming out of the cafeteria. So the four roommates all, file in there. Then after another day of training, they're like, wow, there's barely 3 weeks left until the debarkation exam. Huh? Time for the final debarkation exam. So the test is a test to get off of the train. Those who pass earn the right to debark at Guild HQ and join the Hunters Guild. Those who fail must remain on the Ironworks, enduring the same hellish training regimen for the entire 3-month trip back to Borderport, unless they get on a boat and leave like all the people who left before. So, Mariopios says to Tilty and Bonkers, like, hey, you guys have taken the exam before. Can you tell me, like, what to expect from it? And Tilty's like, they change the exam every time. So, no, not really. It'll probably be some sort of practical exam.
I have a fear of unresolved questions!
But Tilty also says that it's not a matter of, like, they're looking for the best of each, group. They might not pass anyone. It's happened before. So, and also, the test is so harsh, it makes the last 3 months look easy. It's Cops and Robbers that they're playing.
It's Cops and Robbers that they're playing. Now, Nick, do we get to start? This is only 10 chapters into the chapter. Do we get to see the start of Cops and Robbers this week, then?
No.
Okay.
So, you can sum up the rest of the chapter with, they explain the rules of the Cops and Robbers exam. We get to see that Diamante is really strong and has a cool suit of armor.
It is... For some reason, it boggles my mind. They're like, all right, we're going to do Cops and Robbers. So we start explaining it. Grimm shows up and, they act like it's a big deal. Like, whoa, she transforms. It's like, I don't know. It's been like a month. Like, she could do a lot, like, I assume. Yeah. But it's like, all right, it's two of us. But then they pause that to say, giant manta ray. And then give it time for Debonair to show off her awesome ability. Because I guess...
Giant manta rays are, notoriously very patient and will let you put on a full suit of armor before attacking you a second time.
So. That is one of their rules. And Debonair's curse is explained because she was also cursed with the witch's hex, and her curse is heat. She's very, very hot, and not just in the way that you're thinking. Not just in the way that I'd like to be crushed in her abs. She actually can't really control her body heat, but she's turned it into a weapon. And she can really only unleash her best power out here, out in basically the open sea where nobody else gets hurt. And you're like, that's cool. Why are we explaining this now? Why did we start explaining cops and robbers to stop and do this? And then presumably you'll come back onto the ship and be like, all right, I forgot some of the rules myself. Let's explain cops and robbers again.
So Grim and Diamante are going to try and put handcuffs on everyone, and they're going to try not to.
I thought it was really cool when Debonair shows off and like you get to see the cool suit of armor, and I kind of enjoy her curse. Like, I almost think that would be a cool thing if all of the major hunters we see have been cursed by witches in various ways and have these sort of detriments to them. In some ways they make use out of them, maybe some ways they don't. Maybe this is just the first two we've seen and it's not necessarily a pattern meant to be repeated, but I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I would like...
It could be a thing you can make like a story point out of. Like, telling people like, by the way, the longer you remain a hunter, the more likely you are to eventually be cursed because of our line of work. So even if you survive, you might have to deal with something for the rest of your life that's really inconvenient. And are you really willing to take up that on that kind of lifestyle? So
I really like that. I really liked her showing off. It's just the pacing of this chapter is such a weird thing to me. Like, I don't know why it bothers me so much, because I in my mind, if I look at it, I'm like, I can kind of see it, but it bothers me so much. She starts explaining cops and robbers, and then they stop to do something else completely different.
I think the weird pacing and structure of the story has been the most consistent issue that Red Hood has been dealing with since its outset.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like I got all excited for cops and robbers, and it's like, all right, I guess I'll get excited for this thing instead. But then we're still gonna play cops and robbers, though, right?
Yeah. Let's move on to Magu-chan, God of Destruction, Chapter 56, No Sukoshu of Illusions. Kisaragi didn't show up for class, so Ruru and Ren and Magu. And is Nobutsuki with them? He's not. He's not. No, he shows up later. Right. I knew that he was in this chapter. Anyway. Yeah. So they go to check on him. And when they do, they find that he is just passed out in the headquarters of the Holy Knights. Uneris is there, of course, because, yeah. And she says that the reason that Izuma is out is because no Sukoshu of Illusions is there. And so Magu is like, what do you intend to do by entrapping this Holy Knight in his dreams? And no Sukoshu's like, that's the supreme being of dreams. Duh. That's like, this is what I do. So, apparently Izuma was guarding her, but fell prey to her illusions, and now he is just going to be stuck in this sleep. Uneris, though, has a plan, which is she used her providence to make these special magical eye masks so that Magu and Ren and Ruru can all basically share Izuma's dream, and hopefully we'll be able to do something in his dream to snap him out of it. So they do that, and when Ruru and Ren wake up, they're in this bizarre, fantastical world. Lots of stuff like floating in the air, big, weird hills, and so they're looking around at this fantasy place, and it is apparently the mindscape of Izuma, according to Magu. So there are bits and pieces that you see, like, get some insight into, like, this is kind of how Izuma just sees, like, the world in general. So there's a bunch of, like, wild gulahs just, like, running around, and they're just, like, random faceless monsters to be battled. And Izuma strikes one down with a group of them down with his lightning as they're attacking Ruru and the others. He recognizes, Ruru and Ren, and Ren's like, school started. You've got to wake up. And Izuma's like, what school? We know that he doesn't do well in school, so that makes sense. They try and wake him up for a bit, but he's like, I cannot leave this land. The world is being dominated by a vicious monster known as the Great Wicked God. Once I reach its stronghold over there, I must defeat the Great Wicked God. So, but he says that he's so busy solving all the townspeople's problems that he keeps on not being able to go on the main journey, because as we have established up to this point, Magu-chan is any time that there is a chance to make a video game reference in Magu-chan, it will do so. So basically, he keeps on getting stuck doing the side quests and won't do the main storyline mission.
I know that feeling.
Magu has a solution. He says, "We must defeat the great wicked god you speak of." And he just fires his eye beam at the castle and blows the whole thing up. The goal has been achieved.
It is the best moment of the chapter, as many times Magu's reaction to things is, where he just blows up the castle, and then someone has to come and be like, "No, you can't do that. We have a story to do still."
I do appreciate that whenever the series has a case where it's like, well, why wouldn't Magu-chan just blow it up? He will try to do so.
I still don't know if anything in this year has been funnier than him losing a game or playing a game, a fighting game, and just shooting the screen. Like, every time I think about it, it makes me laugh.
Because, like, you think about it, it's like, well, isn't he going to say, yeah, he did. Of course he did. So Nosukoshu just shows up in the dream. I was like, no, you can't do that. And she transforms him into his in training form, basically. So he's a much more harmless little blob, which he's very humiliated by, even though it's basically just his regular form, except shinier and with fewer limbs. So, but Nosukoshu's like, yeah, I make the rules here, and your powers violate the rules, so you can't do that. So, and she's like, yeah, I want to stay in this comfortable world forever, in this comfortable place where, nothing happens. It's nice and calm. And yeah. So she brings back the castle, and that's it. So, and then she's like, just keep on helping out the townspeople, Izuma, so I can keep enjoying the dream. And Izuma's like, wait a minute, you mean none of this was ever real? It's like, yes, that's what we've been telling you. So Magu decides that they need to get to work, so he starts bouncing up and down Izuma's head to make him, get to work. And so the party began its journey. And Nosukoshu apparently can't stop them directly as long as they're going about the path that she's laid out for them. So she's just kind of like being dragged by around Haru's ankles, like, guys, stop, go rest at the inn. Then she tries to stop them with illusions. Muskar, however, shows up, but it's not the real Muskar, and he's in his humanoid form, not in his current form. And so, this is my favorite part of the chapter. So Muskar says, this is the forest of lost souls. It has a magical fog cast on it, and the only way to break through is with a magic compass that you can find in town. And Ruro's like, oh, well, I guess we'll just take the roundabout way. Thank you! So they just avoid the quest and take the long way around. So they reach the castle, and the door is locked, but Magu still has some of his powers, so he just kind of like morphs his body a little bit and uses it to pick the lock, which he refers to as unlocking of destruction because he's like that. The door opens, and of course, the final boss is a giant Uneris sitting on a throne. I mean, who else would it be?
Yeah, come on.
So it turns out her evil plan is to attack Izuma by coddling him and trying to film him all of his embarrassing moments like a mom. So, but Izuma says, "Don't underestimate Uneris. I won't submit to you after my friends came here to save me. You can't keep treating me like a child." And because Uneris is the worst character in the series, her mental thought in response to this is, that's hot.
She says hot. H-A-W-T, which I've been told is sort of a somewhat loose interpretation. I guess in the more Japanese, she's more calling him Moe or Moe or something like that. None of them are great reactions to the speech. And once again, Uneris pulls down an otherwise pretty good chapter.
I feel like she should have just said, like, adorable or something like that.
Yeah.
But then she's just like, wow, Izuma, you've grown strong. And she starts dissolving away. And everyone's like, oh my god, why was that so easy? But that's the end of it. Izuma wakes up. Nosukoshu's like, you guys suck. Magu's like, I'm going to blow her up. I'm going to do it. And they're like, no, don't do that. So Ruru is like, it was kind of fun. Like going on a trip. And she says, don't force your way into people's dreams like that, Nosuko. Magu's like, if you pledge your allegiance to me, I may forgive you. Put your name in this book.
Do it. Do it now.
But Uneris has an idea, which is, hey, Ren, can you keep an eye on Noskoshi for me? I'm just going to put the respect. Look, I left Izuma to take care of this, and look at how it turned out, so you take care of it instead. And it turns out the Noskoshi was just being made to work at the beach shack. And Neputaku is like making her, lording over her and calling her the newbie and stuff. And that's it.
Yep. It was fine. It's like, I don't want to act like this is a bad chapter. It's just, it's one of those ones where you're like, this is fine. This is very fine.
If it had consistently been at the level of the good parts that it had, it would have been a really good chapter. Unfortunately, though, it was mostly just all right. And then, of course, there was Uneris in it. So there you go.
Sometimes that's just how it is,
Sometimes Uneris is just in your series.
Yeah. Sometimes Uneris is just exists in your series. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Dr. Stone. Nick, let's get stoned.
It's Z equals 208. Science transcends humanity. So we see that, things are going well now that, all of the manual labor for making computer stuff has been passed on to Corn City in the United States. Taiju hasn't brought up wanting smartphones in a while, so he brings that up now. But Senku's like, I guess we are working our way towards that, but we're a really, really, really long way away from doing that because of the absurd number of these things that each of those involves. So, and of course, the people in America, there are a lot of really, talented, working with very talented, dexterous people in this group because of Yuzuriha, Joel, and also they bring up Luna because she's a surgeon, so she knows that she can do that. So, but they do require like everyone working on this stuff, and so guys like Magma are not happy about this. So he's like, why do we have to do this? Nuki's like, well, it's really important. We really need to have a computer in order to do this. And Yo's like, no, this sucks. But they get a fax from Senku's group saying like, yeah, there's going to be a Math Olympics tournament, where the use of tools is permitted. So Yo and Magma are just like, yeah, what do we care? Who cares? You're fucking geeks. We don't want to do that. And then Minami's like, yeah, they're saying that the winning team gets 100 million Dragos, and to be like, I'm gonna make more. So,
give it to me.
Greed, great motivator.
Yeah.
More people are woken up. More time passes. Korn is picked. Now we reach the second part of their making a computer thing, which is to make memory. And so Sai starts explaining this by saying, see, without memory, a machine can't remember numbers. So it can't perform complex calculations. So you've got circuitry that thinks, and you've got circuitry that remembers. And if you put them together, you can have a high-performing computer which can do really advanced math. And so they're like, okay, but how do we do that? And we get what is honestly a really cool explanation that I did not know this. So they essentially so we need to have like a bunch of like these magnets, and then we do things to charge the magnets and uncharge them, and then based on where the charges in the magnets in this grid are put, that can allow it to remember various numbers. And there's this complex grid pattern that Yuzuriha whips up. And she's like, yeah, so if we wanted to save this particular magnet, it's in the third column, it's in the second row. So you send an electrical current through those two wires, and it charges this particular one. And so that can be associated with a number that can be used to make calculations and stuff. Cool.
I have no idea. Like, it's still, like, they explained it, and I'm still just like, sure, guy.
So they go over all of this, and they're like, yeah, we've got to, and Senku brings up, like, yeah, this is going to take a lot. It's primitive, but it's solid and reliable, and this kind of mechanism is the way that, like, space shuttles and F-15 fighters once used them. So they had to make a lot of these nets in order to, have enough in order to pull this off. So then we come back to America, and they're like, all right, so we've got to make all of these little rings to be magnets for this. So how many do we got to make? And so Pedro brings up, like, well, I mean, they said 200,000 for the other thing. But Luna's like, oh, yeah, but, that's no big deal. I could do that. And Yuzuriha says, no. 200,000 is the number of copper donuts that we needed. And Luna's like, oh, okay, so it's not 200,000. How much is it? And she says, we need 30 million of these. Which I think is possibly the first time that we've been reading Dr. Stone where I actually felt the scale of the operation that they were working on. Because that's so many.
It is something where you're even trying to stop to comprehend it. And you're like, oh yeah, if I do like, let's say I make like 150 in a day, that seems like a pretty good. You're like, yeah, you just like understand. You'd have to work a week to get 1,000, which isn't even 0.01% of what you need to have for the finished product.
If you did 1,000 every day, it would take you 30,000 days, which is is like almost 100 years. So you could, if you were doing 1,000 a day, you could not make enough in your entire lifetime.
Oh God.
So, time goes by. They're making a bunch of these hoops. Fortunately, they have the machinery because of the stuff that the American Kingdom of Science had set up that they can crank a bunch of this stuff out. And so, like, okay, well, what do we do now? Are we done? And Yuzuriha is, kind of coordinating everything in the American team, and she says, so we have these horizontal and vertical grids for saving data, but to load the data, we need more wire passing across every grid on the diagonal. And Luna at this point is just like, ah. So they work over this, and fortunately they do have a lot of delicate workers, and we just get a montage of a bunch of different stuff being made, all these light bulbs. This Taiju ends up looking over this really large, complex ring that's got all these circuitry components in it. And they're also getting stuff from India for fuel, which was not something that was gone over in terms of why we were going to India. So, okay, I guess. All right. But the time comes for the Math Olympics that they were setting up, and Gen is acting as the MC, and he's like, all right, we're going to meet our mathletes here. So we've got Chrome and Senku and Sai. And immediately Kohaku's like, well, Senku or Sai are going to win because of, just the ridiculous amounts of math they can do in their head. Small detail that I want to make note of is that outside of when Sai is getting really enthusiastic and explaining how memory works, every time we see him in this chapter, he's coding. So he's just like doing it during other things. He's just, he's trying to code Dragon Quest still, or whatever he's working on currently. So it's nice.
Mm.
The fourth person competing in the Math Olympics from Corn City, which they're doing, over, phone, is Magma. And immediately, Ginro's like, but Magma's got to be the worst mathematician out of all of us. Why? But they're like, Xeno's like, yeah, that is why. It's because he's the worst. And Gen has a really, really complicated math equation, which is, like a string of division and multiplication to do. And Chrome's like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? And Senku and Sai don't really react to this. I think that Senku is calculating in his head. But we see that in America, Ukiyo is just like, here's how you use it. And so Magma hits the buttons. And then he says, it's 127,401,136,058. And Senku and Sai were like, yeah, he's correct. So, if you have a calculator, then you can do the smartest person in the world.
I just did the math myself using a calculator, and it took a lot longer. And the answer is right.
Yeah. So, and they're like, yeah, this is the value of a computer. Is it automatically makes these kind of processes faster than the fastest human calculator can do them. So it pushes that home, and they're like, yeah, we've got our calculator now. It's another step on the journey is complete. And there's a cool shot of the moon shining and gleaming off of the the giant calculator that they've hooked up. So
yeah, it's very cool. I like the visual. I like the way it comes across. I like the execution of making Magma the big dumb idiot who's a part of the math contest, and he beats everybody because he can use this calculator and show what's happening. It's nice, nice motivating moment.
also they have a bank now. It's just kind of thrown at the last second.
Yeah, every day we get closer and closer to Senku, like just completely reinventing capitalism.
Yeah.
Like they already kind of have, but we get closer and closer to it every day.
And now we're going to have all these people that we've revived be the slave race so that we can influence all of history for the next several hundred years. So then when we get to that point, everyone will just not understand what systematic racism is. They'll just, take it for granted that there are unequal people and they won't try to do anything about it. It's very important getting us back to the 20th century, guys. Okay?
We're going to tell people they haven't been working hard enough and they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And then, like, there's this little message propaganda invented.
like the narration gets less and less enthusiastic the more this stuff gets.
We just
gender discrimination in the workforce invented.
Ooh, Joe Rogan invented.
It's just like grow him in it. They go to him and they're like, the narrator was like, "Why are you waking these guys up? No,
stop." All right, Nick. Let's talk about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 75. Mash Burn Dead, and the interesting interview. So we open at the Burrow of Magic. After Innocent Zero's interference, it was decided that Dot, Lance, and Mash would all proceed to the final examination. We don't really know what Lance and Dot did to deserve going there, other than they were also present and I guess fought. But at that point, why would Margaret not be invited? But I guess, well, I don't know. I guess because Margaret wasn't physically capable of fighting against the giant monster.
Yeah, because Finn did not advance. So
yeah. So they made it to the final exam. They're just going to go. Wahlberg's there. He says, hey, before proceeding to the final exam, you will each be questioned by one of the divine visionaries. And if they deem you unfit, you will not proceed any further. Be vigilant.
Sorry, it just went over.
Just to remind you of something.
There's a panel where Mash is practicing for the interview. He imagines he's being asked about his favorite food, so he says cream puffs, and that's the one question he thinks of to prepare for.
He's like, phew, that was a breeze. So yeah, Wahlberg's like, yeah, follow your instructions. Mash imagines a fake interview where he is being asked his favorite food, and someone says, I'll be taking over as your guide from here, Mash. And it is a small little creature who says, I am a servant beast. You may call me 008, although you could also read zeros as D's or O's, and the character's name could then be read as ODB or Dobe, as it's definitely intended to be, because it turns out this character is the slave race of this world, who is forced to follow people. So the creature 008 just says, I've heard rumors about you. They say you don't possess magic. How difficult. I can only imagine the cruelties that you've experienced. My sympathies. And Mash says, it's not so bad. Training my body is, hey, this is a really spacious hallway. And 008 says, you don't sound affected by your situation. I find that attitude rather great-heated. Becomes a giant werewolf. And goes to strike Mash. And he says, oh no, I hate it when I accidentally say something to upset someone.
Such a good boy.
Yeah, 008 says, please, this isn't related to anything you said. In truth, I was ordered to get rid of you. Are you familiar with servant beasts? It basically explains how servant beasts work, that they're cursed, can't lay a hand upon their masters, so they have to obediently serve them in exchange for tremendous power. And it gives the whole thing, like, if you are incapable of magic, you must leave this realm. And strikes, and Mash doesn't block, or doesn't avoid it this time. He kind of just takes it. He says, Beach is like, you did not resist. He says, yeah, it kind of hit me that you weren't doing this because you wanted to. That stuff about curses and obedience bothers me, because if you were me and I was ordered to fight, I wouldn't want to have to hurt you. And there's a little narration of like, it might be our language, but it only has animal intelligence. You just need to shut up and just do as we say. Know your place, Save. You should be happy we keep you alive. And 008's like, oh, this boy, he's human, but he's kind to me. And then Dobby the house elf gets fucking smacked away.
Which is another way you can read his digits if you go DOB. So
yeah, that's why I said that's why I brought up.
Oh,
ODB.
I thought you said ODB.
Well, I said ODB or DOB. Yeah. So angry Harry Potter shows up and is like, "Did you even do your job?" And 008's like, "No, Master Order, forgive me." And Mash stands in front and says, "Don't. It's okay. You're the one who has business with me, isn't that right?" And just like, wait, no, you're not going to be a match for Order. Even a Divine Visionary candidate's no match for Order. Mash is like, I'll be fine. And 008's like, no, you really won't. I know this. And they explained that a very long time ago when the Manga attacked this ancient species of immense strength, Divine Visionaries would be a loss. It's due to how much magic they possess. A top-class human magic user with the same energy as an average Vin has the same energy as an average Magin, and the Bureau's security forces were made up of the best, and even they struggle. But not Master Order. He and the reinforcements dealt with them, and most astonishingly, Order took out 6 of them on his own. So he's incredibly talented. That's all this is meant to get across. And Mash hears all this explanation, just goes, golly. So Order just says, like,
also there is a sound effect of him next to him going golly, which is honk.
Honk. Order says, I cannot accept you. It takes just one exception to collapse the system. You've garnered the support of Wahlberg and the others for the power you've displayed against Citizen Zero, but we don't need you. I alone am enough. Allow me to show you. And Master says, I have to beat you if I'm ever going to be accepted. So we're setting up a fight between them.
Yeah, it's an all right chapter. I mean, not a whole lot to it. It's very straightforward, but I do really appreciate it. It's like, yeah, Mash is just the kind of person who's just like, well, you don't really want to do this, so I don't want to have to punch you because you're attacking me. So
yes.
Okay, but with that done, I guess we'll move on to the Elusive Samurai.
How elusive is that, Samurai Nick?
I mean, he's the elusive. I'm going to be evasive about this answer and not answer it. So.
Almost as evasive as the samurai himself.
That was the reference I was making. Anyway, the Elusive Samurai, Chapter 29, General 1334. We begin things on a color page that's just kind of separated from the action of Yorishige performing Misogi, the act of washing away sin and impurity. That was weird. So, but he's thinking to himself as he does this, like, I see a future in which you live. Presumably, he is like speaking to Tokiyuki in his mind. But if you neglect the struggle for survival, you will die because this possibility is not guaranteed. The experience you gain through battles is of immeasurable value, and I beg you to stay safe. And then we get our 2-page color spread for this chapter. It's gorgeous, as freaking always, whenever this series gets color pages. It's very, very, very lovely. Lots of nice autumn colors.
Yeah.
So, last time, Hoshino was convinced by Tokiyuki's butt hitting him in the face repeatedly that he needed to get his troops to safety and actually lead a proper retreat. They are doing that now, but they still have to deal with the Kushi's forces because they are following them. As we begin Nanbokucho Tag with the Burning Demon Brigade. And so we see that Tokiyuki and the others actually got some instruction from Shizuku about this guy who's leading the forces, Wada Yonemaru, who is represented by a round, chubby-cheeked face, which, I mean, he does have chubby cheeks, so yeah. And she says, like, okay, so, you know, he is been working for the Kikuchi for a long time. He's loudmouthed and brutal. His skill in martial arts are intimidating, yet forceful leadership, and those demand caution. So basically, they need to take him out in order to weaken the Kikuchi's forces, according to Kojiro. But Fubuki says, first, we'll use him. Probably the most horrifying thing that happens in this chapter is we see that to demonstrate that how loudmouthed and brutal the man is, we see him swing his sword and cutting into a guy's cheek. And at first I thought he was like, oh, all right, you know, he's riding on a horse and killing a guy. It's like, no, that's how he's telling a guy to go and attack.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to have dug into part of his brain with that sword stroke. So we see Yonemaru riding through his troops, and they're all like, "What? He's coming back. He's riding back through us. What's going on?" And Yonemaru just goes, "Ah! Everyone, follow me this way. We gotta go up the mountain." And the troops are confused, but they're like, "Okay," and so they go, and they follow after him. And we get back to some of the strategy meeting between Fubuki and the others, where he said, we're going to withdraw our forces across a flat area, so we can't set any ambushes. So we are at a disadvantage as a smaller force, so we need to divide the enemy up. And one of us has the necessary skills. And as the troops are led in this direction, a whole bunch of them suddenly are attacked by a rain of arrows. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening, Yonemaru? Sir, sir, sir." And Yonemaru just keeps going, "Gah, gah, gah, gah." And then he turns around and goes, "You talking to me?" And of course, it's Genba in disguise. And I do like that, when he comes out, like the disguise that he's in is like 3 times as big as he is, because Yonemaru is a big man and he is a kid. So. Genba gets to safety amongst the archers, and we see that Seimantaro, the guy who was really worried about Hoshina being killed and was like the only visible person at the camp, is leading the archery team, and he is very, very good. Just firing off arrows really, really rapidly and very accurately. So going on, Hoshina also is actually getting to show his stuff in direct sword combat with people. And they say, like, despite the fact that he fights so fiercely, not a splatter of blood touches his face because he moves so swiftly and smoothly between enemies. So, hey, we're getting some of the adults allied with Tokiyuki actually kind of bigged up for once, which is a little bit different for this series. And Hoshina says to Tokiyuki, like, yeah, we were strong, we were resigned to death, but we're also strong when determined to live. But he is worried about them actually being able to escape because they have to protect their families, and he's like, we've got to lose the enemy after they all get to safety, and we've got to find safety ourselves. And hey, where is your companion? Talking about Kojiro, and Tokiyuki's like, oh, I let him decide what he thinks is best in this situation. And we follow Kojiro for almost the entire rest of the chapter, basically.
Yes.
And so lots of moments with him. First, his strategy as he was riding around horseback around the battlefield, trying to figure out where he needs to go, what troops he needs to help out, which ones in the enemy force he needs to fend off. There's a brief gag that comes up where every time that he tries to address one of the troops, he describes their features, and it turns out to be incredibly inaccurate. So, like, there's the guy who's like, a guy who's got blocky features, and then he takes his hat off and he's got a very round head with circles in his hair pattern. So he's like, all right, well, I don't know any of your names, so
It would be actually pretty frustrating if you're like, hey, eyebrows, come over there. And then he's like, these aren't eyebrows. I tape caterpillars to my head. It makes me comfortable. It keeps them.
There's also just a guy who's just like, hey, come on, describe me. He's like, you're just wrong.
I don't know how to describe you. You're slightly less terrifying than that Muppet girl in World Trigger, but not by much.
So he's trying to find the best course of action. He ends up leading some of his troops to battle and helping them out and stuff. But he also is like, man, I do really wish that I did know their names. And he's like, I need to, be a better leader in general and stuff. Then he sees that Fubuki seems to be kind of sluggish, and Fubuki falls off of his horse. And Kojiro's like, oh no, Fubuki, are you okay? Who did this to you? And of course, Fubuki's just missed lunch. So Kojiro's like, oh, fucking eat this! And Fubuki immediately is back on his feet. But Kojiro's like, hey, your strategy is indispensable to the elusive warriors. But Fubuki says, anyone can learn and devise strategy. What is indispensable is a general who moves around the battlefield risking himself for the sake of others, which means you are our esteemed adjutant general. Really getting a lot to big up Kojiro, as it was seeming to indicate was going to be the case for this story arc when it began. So, however, despite the fact that things are going pretty well, Yonemaru comes in and basically turns the tide of the battle, seemingly killing a couple of the guys who Gojira was getting along with and not knowing their names before. And so Yonemaru is like, spots Kojiro. He's really pissed off that his force has been divided up, and he identifies him as a servant from the Suwa Grand Shrine. So he's like, too bad killing a flea ain't nothing to brag about, though. And he charges in, and Kojiro charges back as like the images of like tigers come up behind them as they charge towards each other. As Kojiro says, "I'll scatter your stinking blubber in the Chikuma River."
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Imagine like a fucking 10-year-old walked up to you and said that to you. You'd be like, what the fuck? God damn it. You don't know how to respond to that. It's just one of those things. It just catches you off guard.
Because then you're like, I mean, I guess I could fire insults back at this kid, but like, I mean,
I'm an adult. This is going to look bad on me. There's no way to win this.
And also, he's got a sword, but I don't know if he's actually going to kill me or if he's just going to go like, eh.
Yeah. What if I make a big deal and this kid sucks and then I really look like I just beat up a kid? Yeah, it's rough times.
You know what? I'm just going to leave. That's the best thing for me to do in this exchange.
Nick, let's talk about Black Clover. Page 304, Reality and Magic.
Yeah.
So last time Mechikula was defeated, we see that effect happening as the curse mark on Lolopachika vanishes, and she wakes up, and she immediately starts apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm naked, I'm sorry. And As is like, don't fear, I didn't see a thing.
Oh, don't worry. Noelle barely wears any more than this when she transforms.
I know. Well, Noelle punches him in the face. What are you doing, Dorksta? And then hugs Lolopachika, and she's now wearing a dress made out of water, which is weird because last time when she watched Saint Stage, she just went back to like the shorts and everything she was wearing before. So I don't know why she has a water dress. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it provides more coverage than her actual Saint Stage outfit.
Maybe she really is just more comfortable when she's not wearing pants.
That's fair. It's very fair. I would suggest wearing underwear at least, or shorts or something, but
gotta let it all breathe.
You know what? It's nature's pocket needs some fresh air too, I guess, and all times. Noelle, or Asta runs up, is like, what was that for, Noelle? And she's like, she does her old tsundere act. But she's like, oh, I haven't seen him in ages, and I'm thrilled. I'm too embarrassed to look him in the face. And she punches him in the face again, launches him in the sky. It's like, nothing, Dorkstra. And then she looks over to Nozelle, and it is kind of funny. Not Nozelle's like, oh, the curse has been broken. No, I'm never able to talk. I don't know how to talk to Noelle.
What if he punched her?
That should have been the joke. It would have been a little dark because there's definitely abuse in her family, but it would have been the much funnier joke if he was also embarrassed and the only way he knew how to respond was to punch him into space, someone into space.
Unfortunately, the rule of three is not fulfilled in this chapter. There's no third time that Asta gets punched away. Oh, well.
No. Yeah, he could punch Asta into space. That would have been equally as funny.
Been great. Like, Asta came up, I was like, "Why you look so awkward, Mr. Nozo?" Great, that would have been a great payoff.
Yes. We have a moment where Rill, that's a stupid name. Rill apologizes to Charlotte, saying like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, the effect's gonna end soon." And he says, "I still haven't managed to create my greatest work. I guess my greatest masterpiece is." And he doesn't finish that thought. As Charlotte's like, don't need to apologize. You made it possible for me from the fight, and I'm grateful to you. Besides, we can't afford to die yet. Am I wrong? And Gaja sees the Lolopachika run up to her. She's also wearing a dress made of water now to keep things decent. And he says,
"You know well."
Yeah. He says, Lolopachika, I'm glad you're safe. And everyone starts falling down and dying. Lolopachika tries to heal them with water recovery magic, but her magic, it can't heal wounds like that.
Apparently.
Apparently. And Asta notes, the Demon Destroyer can't do a thing about injuries. What's going to happen? And everyone's like, there's Nature Boy Flare shows up, and he says, woo! There's nothing that can be done!
Let me tell you, sometimes shit just happens.
Woo!
He's just like, he just comes in.
He just
like, I guess they're gonna die.
Sucks to suck there. But yeah, he basically so it's not everyone who is right is rewarded for it. Sometimes it's reality. They're going to die. The damage they took on is too severe. But then Rill says, or Luck's like, oh hey, and Nature Boy Player's like, oh yeah, I brought the one you said to bring, but it's two. And then Noelle smiles and says, no, Mimosa could do it. And Mimosa says, I won't let anyone die. And she saves everybody by saying, we'll overrule reality. After all, that's what magic does, right? And I'm still so very confused on a couple different levels. One, Nature Boy Ric Flair is like, you said to bring this person, but I don't know. But it's like, you clearly know why. You said to bring no fucking healer because people were going to be hurt. Two, how does Lola Pachica's magic not work? But fucking Mimosa's does. Isn't Lola Pachica one of the spirit guardian people? Like, is that like she has like one of the most powerful magics in there? And also, she has no attack magic. All she can do is help people. Why is her magic not strong enough?
I guess we needed Mimosa to do something to justify bringing her on this mission, because if she didn't heal these people, then she would have literally come along and done nothing. I do like Mimosa, and I'm glad that she does get a moment where she's like, hey, she literally brings 3 people back from seemingly incurable injuries from the brink of death. I do think that there should have been more focus on the fact that Gaja essentially was burning himself out to get them all the chance to win, and less focus on Charlotte and Rill, because if you weren't going to, push the fact that all 3 of them were going to drop dead as soon as they were done fighting, then it seems like, and also these 2 on top of the one that actually did get a little bit of focus, and I feel like instead you could have just pushed Gaja's situation even harder, and then you could even that out a little bit.
And you could even justify then that the reason Lola Pachica's magic doesn't work is because she's very emotional over the fact that someone she loves is dying and she's just panicking or something like that. Like, you could have done something along those lines. Anyway, they're all fine. Everyone's good now. And Gaja takes this moment to announce that he loves Lola Pachica, and not as a queen, but as a woman. And everyone's like, oh, they're all super excited. Undine shows up to say Lola Pachica's mine. But if it's you, Gaja, though, then I think she short circuits.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a matter of like, I can't give my daughter figure away to anyone or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we honestly have not explored the relationship between them in this capacity enough to really get that.
Yeah.
So
Noelle says it's irritating, but I suppose it's thanks to him that Noelle grew strong. So we have to save Yami no matter what. And they're like, all right, so we have to do that. But there's one more Dark Triad member left. Yeah, the last one. And then we're cutting backwards to shortly before Megicula's defeat. And Zeno has become full Ukiora with a bunch of bones and all sorts of the demon wings.
Ukiora never looked this cool. You shut up.
That is true. These are slightly cooler designs than most of the Espadas releases, but, whatever they called their forms. No. What did they call their releases?
Oh, that's a good... Hang on. Go. Keep going.
Okay. Well, there's not actually that much left. Basically, it's Finro and being like, what are we... Or Langris, rather, and being
Resurrection.
Like, Resurrection. Basically saying, like, what are we going to do? And says, buy me 3 minutes. I'll finish it with my next attack. So we have the other fight to finish.
Yep. We'll see how many people get jumping on this one.
I mean, we did just introduce Saint Stage, and has one of the spirits, so theoretically he should, like, I don't know if this new form is his Saint Stage, or if not, he should just unlock Saint Stage and do it. So that seems like what you should be building up, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's actually, as in terms of like aftermath from a battle chapters go, this was overall pretty good. But I just think that like the way that they're all gonna die. No, they're not, because Mimosa's here is a little bit clunky, and it really would have been better with just a little bit more like, because obviously there's the Gaja thing, but during the course of the battle, I never went like, well, I guess Gaja's gonna die after this.
Yeah.
So, could have been had a little bit more of tension weighing on it basically to get to this point.
Yeah.
But we are going to close things out today with One Piece chapter 1023, Spitting Image. Zoro is back on his feet after having gotten pain go bye-bye juice pumped into his veins. He and Sanji are fighting King and Queen. Then there's a bunch of stuff going on with outsiders and people preventing each other from interfering in the fight. But none of it's really important up until like we get to the actual like big people trying to interfere with it a little bit. So I'm just gonna. Izo has to go and save Marco's butt because he's too busy just kind of like looking at the battle and thinking about something that Whitebeard once said to him about the Red Line in Mary Joa and the race that King seemingly belongs to. And he's just daydreaming about that. And he's just like, we're in the middle of a fight. Come on. And then Marco's just like, hey, Izo, do you believe in gods? He's just like, what the fuck are you on about?
Shut up, shut up, shut up.
So Queen brags about how awesome the three calamities are. Plague, wildfire.
A third one.
A third one, but us too. He fires some beams of energy from his mouth, and Zoro observes like, hey, what's up with you over to Sanji? And Sanji just is like, I don't know. I mean, like ever since I put the raid suit on the second time, my body's just kind of felt a little off. And Zoro's just like, you better not drag me down. And Sanji's like, shut up. So they're arguing immediately, of course. Each of them kind of helps out the other from an attack by King and Queen, deflecting it for the to protect the other. And they're like, you owe me. We're even. And then Queen looks at Sanji is like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, Judge's son, I hear all of you kids are cyborgs. That guy is a madman. Is that burning leg of yours a machine part? And Sanji's like, no. The heat of my passion surpasses the temperature of flame. That's why it burns. And he starts kicking his leg in an impossible arc and kicking fire into Queen over and over and over again. And meanwhile, Zoro squares off against King.
It's worth noting also that Queen specifically says, how does a human burn like that? I know you aren't a Lunarian, so that's the name, presumably, of the race atop the Red Wall that King's probably a member of.
And King has a katana, so it is a swordsman that Zoro's fighting with. He deflects some of Zoro's blows and then catches the swords on the heavily serrated edge of his blade and tears them out of Zoro's hands momentarily in order to punch Zoro in the face.
Yeah, maybe not a perfect swordsman, but he has a sword, so what else?
Yeah. Zoro blocks it with his mouth sword, and so Zoro's just like, you're a killer machine, huh? And the King says, do you need a school or a style in order to fight? Which I don't really know how those two statements connect, but Zoro's like, well, I guess you never called yourself a swordsman, so do as you like. Who knows, by the end of this, I might be tearing your throat out with my teeth. Cool. Meanwhile, Kawamatsu is talking to Hyogoro, and he's saying, hey, Yori told me that she was going to give that man enema, and back then, there was a reason. I couldn't bring myself to stop her. And Hyogoro agrees, saying, he is a pirate from across the sea, yet strangely enough, he is the spitting image of Shimotsuki Ushimaru, daimyo of Ringo in his youth, and even his sword style is the same. Ha! Also, Ryuma, the god of the blade, also had one eye. Okay, so they're basically, I was like, there seems to be fate at work here, bringing this guy to our country. So they basically have decided not to act against what appears to be the work of fate in terms of what why they're letting Zoro keep the sword. So, but remember, there's a third calamity, guys. Remember, Jack, it's calamity. So tough.
All the calamities show off equal amounts of their power in this chapter. Oh, wait, no. Jack just has this grabbed by the trunk and he gets fucking judo tossed out of a building. Never mind.
So Jack is in his Beastman form, so he's got, big, huge mastodon freaking body, but he's got his hook sword, and he's charging down Dogstorm, and he's like, yeah, I know you can't go any longer. I will forgive your country for going into ruin to uphold the lie about the samurai. But Dogstorm's like, if we had handed over Raizo to die, we would be so ashamed that we never would have come back to Wano. Every single day since the death of Lord Odin was another day closer to this moment of reckoning. And yeah, he judo tosses Jack by the trunk and throws him through the fucking wall. And of course we get the flashback to Dogstorm refusing to acknowledge that I don't know who Raizo is. If there were men here, I would cut my own belly. And Dogstorm says, as he follows out after Jack, for 20 years I asked myself, are you still a samurai of Lord Odin? And Jack's like, oh shit, why are you a Sulong?
Uh-oh. I wasn't doing so hot in this fight before you turned.
And he looks up and is like, wait a minute, why is there a hole in the roof? Well, because a lot's happened, that's why. But Dogstorm says, and yeah, he's in his Sulong form, we would let a city of 1,000 years fall to ensure that we reached this decisive battle. Only by winning this fight, whatever the cost, will dawn come to the world. And then we cut to the front entrance of the Skull Dome, and Cat Viper, of course, is still facing off against Prospero, who is flat in his fucking back. And he says that if it weren't for Petra, then Luffy's gang never would have come this far. This raid would have ended in failure. It's a beautiful full moon tonight, and I hope you're watching, Pedro. Have a drink if you got one. But you, lick spittle! Saying to Prospero, this is the last moon you'll ever see. Very badass moments by the two of them.
So. Cool line.
Yeah. And Prospero's like, oh shit! So, yeah. But then we cut to Fukujumaru, is that his name? He's fighting with Raizo.
Fukuro Koji or something like that?
Something like that. They're having a ninja fight. They don't really say anything important, but he's just mocking Raizo, basically. Yeah. And then we cut out to the Tokage port. And a bunch of the people in the pirate group are just like, what the fuck? What's Kaido doing here? What's Kaido doing here? Because there's a giant serpentine dragon crouching in front of Luffy. And they're like, Luffy, get away from him! And Luffy looks at the dragon, and he thinks back to when he first met Momonosuke in his dragon form. And Luffy's like, is that you, Momo? And Momonosuke says, indeed! And Shinobu says that by Lord Momonosuke's request, he is now age 28, and she is bawling her eyes out. And Luffy's like, why are you crying? And she's like, because... And apparently when she first transformed him, she started to say that he looked just like... ... So, the obvious thing that we're supposed to think is that he looks just like Odin.
Mm.
Which, considering he's his son, would make sense. But it could be someone else.
It would be really funny if it was like, you look like Fukuro, the dude with the zipper mouth from the CP9. Why? Where'd you get the zipper mouth?
Lord Momonosuke, you look just like... And everyone just kind of like looks at one of the other samurai.
You look a lot like fucking Kinemon. He's just like... there are a lot of lonely nights in Wano.
But Luffy just says to Momonosuke, come on, Momo, let's go take back Wano. And Momonosuke is ready to go now that he is in his adult giant dragon form.
Yeah.
Which I should say does look very cool.
Yes, looks pretty cool. I'll be curious to see his full form reveal, and it should be a lot of fun. It's a good chapter.
We've got the final, it seems like secondary fight starting to wrap up with Zoro and Sanji. Not starting to wrap up, getting going between Zoro, Sanji, and King and Queen, and then a bunch of the really minor battles seem to be coming to a head. And then there's just Luffy trying to make his way back to Kaido. So
I wasn't expecting that to be a tag match, so that's sort of a pleasant surprise.
Yep. We will see if it remains so, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
That's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. So, to wrap things up, we're going to say what our favorites were, favorite series, and MVP.
Okay. I think your mic just changed, by the way.
God damn it.
My favorite series is actually a little harder, so I'm going to think on that. My character of the week is Kojiro from Elusive Samurai. I thought it was a really cool chapter from him, and I really like that moment of the general guy, the tactician, basically saying, like, look, tacticians, anybody can learn that, but like an actual general is really important and vital to have. So I really like that moment.
Yeah, that is cool. I think it just changed back.
Yeah, you're good now.
All right, good. I do really want to give it to Uraraka, but I'm going to give it to Kikoru because she cut a word bubble in half.
That's actually a pretty good point, too. Shit. I want to stay with my pick, but that is a really good one.
Chapter of the week.
Chapter of the week is kind of hard. I don't know if anything like directly stands out as like there's moments in chapters that are really good. I think I might just give it to Undead Unluck because I do like, I guess, the whole of that chapter quite a lot. But I almost feel like this chapter is a lead into a much better chapter coming next, I assume. So
there were a number of chapters that I felt like, yeah, it was, pretty good. That was fun. There was very little bad this week.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of like, the usual stuff that you would expect in terms of like what our preferences are for the series that we read. But there wasn't a whole lot that was like very standout, exciting, really good. And there was a lot that was like, well, I can't wait to see how this turns out. So a build-up week in some form. I think that I'm going to echo your final decision and go with Undead Unluck, though.
Yeah.
I was not super into it, but I think it is the most complete chapter in terms of like a theme running through it that you can easily get behind. And it has, like a beginning and, sudden twist in the conflict, and then a hope for how it will be resolved with the good guys winning. So
it is worth noting the audience also was pretty mixed on a lot of things. Uraraka more handedly won MVP, but the winner of chapter of the week was actually Dr. Stone, and there were it looks like 28 total votes, but 9 unique votes and 7 votes total were enough for Dr. Stone to win. So based off that, it was a pretty tight race all the way around.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. It reflects what I think both of our feelings are for this week. So, but with that said, guys, thank you for listening to this episode of Weekly Manga Recap. Remember that normally we record the show on twitch.tv/RoloT Wednesdays at around 7:30 Eastern time. So be sure to tune in to us next week when we will be talking about our next round of chapters, as Chris and I both continue to subject ourselves to history's strongest disciple, Kenichi, which is far more dire than I was thinking.
I've fallen behind. I made a plan. I was like, if I do 20 chapters a day, I will catch up by the end, by the last week in September. And then I started to get behind. There was like one day I was just so tired. I was like, I can only read 10 chapters. I'll read 30 chapters tomorrow. And then there was this one day I couldn't catch it. So right now I'm currently, I think I'm supposed to be at chapter 180, and I just got to like chapter 150. So I'm still like 30 chapters behind where I need to get. So I plan to catch up. But at chapter 150, I am now firmly like 1/4 of the way through this series. And I do not fucking comprehend what the other 3/4 of this series are about, because he did it. It's done.
Yeah.
What the fuck is left?
Yeah. So, little preview for the end of the month, guys. Hope you're looking forward to it. Thank you all for supporting the show. You can, if you would like to sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/weekly manga recap, you can chip in a few bucks and get some bonus content, which we love to produce for you guys. We would also like to extend thanks to everyone who is on our Discord server, where you can get updates on when the show goes live. You can participate in discussions of the weekly chapters as they come out, as well as the series as it is going to be recapped. If you want to share your opinions with the rest of the community, or even occasionally when Chris or I feel like want to vent about it, you can share opinions about it there. And you can also find through that the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i, which keeps track of the votes for MVP, the series that have been recommended to us, all sorts of great, very helpful information, which we thank him for making our lives generally easier in terms of organizing stuff for the show.
Monumentally. I'm sorry about Red Hood.
And we would also like to thank Steve Mann, our title artist. You can check out his work wherever boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet, including his Twitter account, Steve Mann Art. That's that correct?
Yes.
And we would like to thank Winslow Cheddar and Milo Jack Stillis for creating the opening sequence for Weekly Manga Recap, which you can see in the video versions, which are posted to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. Or if you want to listen to just the audio version, it is available on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com and on Spotify and generally anywhere you can listen to podcasts.
Absolutely. I would just want to also note, I do a series for our Patreon called Monthly Other Recap. I just posted the newest episode, so I'll talk about all the series that are not part of our Weekly Manga Recap but are in Jump, and also talk about Dragon Ball Super. And I've mentioned now I'm going to commit to adding 4 Nights of the Apocalypse in there after probably like in November, when I have the opportunity to read manga that is in Kenichi again. But in case it's extra incentive, I had a new segment now this week where I'll go through and I'll tell you what other series from outside the recap would have been contenders for MVP and chapter of the week. So there's some little extra nuggets of information in there for you. And you might hear us in some upcoming podcasts. I was just on Deals with the Devil, the Ice Shield 21 podcast, where we talk about Volume 5 of Ice Shield 21, which is very good. And there's more on the way.
Yes,
yeah.
There is.
All right. Now, I believe you said you wanted to go see Malachi Black kick a man's head off. So
yeah, we're closing the recording of the episode at just the right time. So I'll let you know how that goes.
All
Probably
right.
well.
Imagine if he loses. Whew. All right. Bye, everybody.